Hey guys, Adam here with AmericanTrucks.com, and today we're taking a closer look at, listening to, and installing the Flowmaster FlowFX Direct Fit Replacement Active Exhaust Muffler, available for the 2009 to 2018 5.7 liter Ram 1500 with the factory dual exhaust. Now, as you just heard from our sound clips, guys, this is an active exhaust that has two different modes. In terms of sound, I'm giving your on mode, which is the quiet mode, 3 out of 5 on our loudness meter. Now, the on mode for the active exhaust, which again is the more normal or quieter version of the active exhaust, is something that's perfect for the daily driver out there. Anytime you're taking the kids to school, or if you're just on your daily work commute and you're looking for a normal exhaust sound, something that's a little bit deeper than the factory exhaust without being too overwhelming, you want to throw that exhaust switch on the on position and you'll have it in that normal driving mode. Now, because it's an active exhaust, you can hit the off button on the key fob included in the kit there to switch it into the loud mode. Off means it's going to adjust the butterfly valve in this muffler here to make it louder, and for that mode, I'm giving it 4 out of 5 on our loudness meter. Now, the active exhaust mode with it off, which is the louder mode, is going to be something that's got a deep, aggressive rumble, something that's much louder than the factory exhaust, and actually, it surprised me a bit. Sometimes with these active exhausts that you have to install in the aftermarket is something that doesn't really change up the sound too much, but with this muffler, the difference between on and off is actually pretty drastic. It's a lot louder, it's got a lot more bass to it, it's something you can definitely feel inside the cabin. With that said, the way this works is it has an extra dump muffler pipe. So coming off this muffler, you have the dual outlet that leads to your factory dual exhaust, but it has this additional pipe that dumps out directly under the cabin. Now, that's where the butterfly valve is located, right here above the actuator. So when you turn it off, which basically means it's going to be louder, it opens up a valve and opens up this pipe, so a lot of the exhaust gases dump right out underneath of the muffler itself. That's going to give you that louder volume, it's going to give you the raspier volume, it's going to beef up that aggression. So the nice thing about this is you get the best of both worlds. If you want to keep it more tamed, throw it in the on position, it's great for daily drivers. If you want to make a lot more noise, throw it in the off position, and it's going to be a more track-inspired sound. Now, the way it works in controlling it is it's got this wireless key fob. Inside the FlowFX muffler from Flowmaster is a WAVE technology, or wireless active valve exhaust technology. That means this is going to transmit via Bluetooth to this key fob there, and some of that wiring for the control module I'll get to in just a little bit. So basically, you can hook this onto your key fob, you can leave it in your cup holder inside your cabin. Either way, super easy to use. You don't have to worry about drilling in any additional switches. It's wireless. With that said, the price tag comes in right around $650. In my opinion, a worthwhile price to pay for a very different experience when it comes to an aftermarket exhaust. Obviously, this is not a full catback, so it may not reap all the power benefits you get from a full catback swap, but with a simple muffler swap, $650 is a small price to pay for a huge change up in sound, especially one you can change on the fly. Install wise, I'm calling this 2 out of 3 wrenches on our difficulty meter. Now, there is some splicing involved, but honestly, it's a pretty simple, very straightforward process. It comes with all the wiring necessary to get the job done. You're basically going to install the muffler as you would any other muffler, no cutting or drilling any of that nonsense. You'll install the active exhaust valve actuator included in the kit, and then you're basically going to run a control module wire from behind the center console back down into the engine bay and over to the muffler itself, and you'll plug it right in. Now, I know that sounds like a headache, I know it sounds overwhelming or nerve-wracking. I'm going to walk you through that entire process. It'll take 2, maybe 3 hours from start to finish. There is some splicing involved, like I said, but all of the quick splice connectors included in the kit make it a pretty fairly simple process. I'm going to show you what that looks like. Let's get started. Tools used in the install include an impact gun, ratchet, extension, 16 and 17 millimeter deep sockets, T15 Torx bit, wire strippers and cutters, needle nose pliers. Recommended would be a hanger removal tool, a pry bar, and PB blaster. First up, we're going to loosen up all 3 clamps holding on the factory muffler. We're going to start here with the extension pipe that goes to your cats. Now, this guy is a 16 millimeter nut, so I have that on my ratchet here. You can use an impact gun for this one, but you'll have to switch over to a ratchet for the other one, so I'm just going to start here. I'm going to loosen this guy all the way up and separate the clamp. Now we can repeat that for the other 2. Now we're switching over to a 15 millimeter socket, and we're going to take off these 2 holding on the tailpipes to the muffler outlet. All right, next step, we're gonna have to focus on our hangers in the factory isolators above the muffler. Now, before we do anything, I'm gonna grab WD-40 and I'm just gonna spray it right inside there where the hanger connects to that isolator just to lube it up and make it easier on us. Do that for both of them. All right, next up, grab your hanger removal tool and we're gonna pop these guys out of the isolators. All right, next up we can start to try to disconnect our muffler. Now I'm gonna start on the front side here with a pry bar. Now it might take a little finessing on both sides to disconnect, but for now I'm gonna use this pry bar up against the frame and I'm gonna push this out of position. So we have the front broken loose pretty good. Now what I wanna do is start on our passenger side tailpipe. I want to get that disconnected from the muffler, and in order to do that, it may slide out of this hanger here. So I'm going to slide this guy out, disconnect it from the muffler, and then hang it right back up. Oh, that was pretty simple. And just hang it up. All right, so tailpipes are out of the way. Let's just lift our muffler up and slide it off. So we got our factory muffler off of our 14 Ram and it's on the ground here next to our Flowmaster Active muffler, and I want to take you through some similarities and differences between the two here, and I gotta say from head to toe this is gonna be completely different. Your factory muffler is absolutely massive. The Flowmaster muffler is just about as big as my hand, and it's got this resonator slash bullet style muffler there that leads into the dual split exit for your factory dual exhaust, but it's also got this side dump here with the active valve. Now the active valve, needless to say, is something that does not come with your 14 Ram off the factory line, so this is going to be a huge improvement to not only sound but also performance. Now the way this works is you see this little active valve actuator on the side here that we have to pre-assemble on the muffler before we get to the installation. But first, what this is going to do is basically with your wireless key fob, it's going to activate this butterfly valve that'll open and close. When it's closed, under normal driving conditions, all of your exhaust gases will push out normally as it would, just like your factory exhaust. Still, it's going to have an improved sound thanks to this new Flowmaster FX muffler, but it's going to be closed off for the dump. Once you activate that exhaust valve, it's going to open up this side dump here, and exhaust gases will pass through both sides, and that's going to open up volume tremendously, and that's what you heard from our sound clips earlier on. So that side dump's going to dump out right underneath the truck while continuing to dump out of the rear as well. Now, this assembly here is going to attach to a 3-inch TIG welded exhaust that's coming from Flowmaster, and this is a 409 stainless mandrel bent tubing. The 409 stainless is going to be that middle of the road option. It's going to help keep costs down, but it's still going to be corrosion and rust resistant, especially more so than aluminized steel. So pretty good quality stuff here from Flowmaster with a pretty affordable cost with that 409 stainless. Now the active exhaust actuator is controlling a WAVE technology or wireless active valve exhaust built into the Flowmaster muffler alongside their power chamber technology, which produces that sound now. Now the WAVE technology is going to be something that we're going to have to kind of assemble on top of the built-in technology, so let's get to work on that. We have a couple of spring actuators we have to install along with some brackets and some gaskets, so that's next. Now the first step here for the assembly is to install our bracket and gasket. The bracket is going to install just like this. There are 2 pre-drilled and pre-threaded holes on the bracketing system welded to the exhaust. Now you want to make sure you're installing this bracket in the correct orientation. So not going this way, it's going to flip around this way here. You want to make sure that the 90-degree elbow tab is facing the rear of the exhaust, but you also want to make sure that you're installing the included gasket on the underside. So that's going to go just like this and attach into the system like that. So once we have that set up there, take the longer Phillips head screws, install the gasket washer over those as well. They should come pre-installed with some split washers. Just want to add the gasket washer, pick up the gasket and bracket assembly, and we're going to drop this guy right in place. Take those longer screws and tighten them down. All right, you want to grab a Phillips head screwdriver and tighten them down. Next, you want to take the spring itself and you want to insert it underneath, and it snaps on to the fitting at the bottom there. All right, just like that. Really only goes on that one way there with the hook on the bottom. And now we can install the actual actuator. The actuator only goes on one way, but you want to make sure that this little tab there is hooking onto the top of the spring you just installed. So you want to make sure that they're oriented the same way. Drop that guy on. You might have to get low in order to see it line up. All right, make sure you're grabbing those longer screws once you have everything set in place there with the actuator. And I'm going to thread all 3 of them in by hand just to make sure that everything's lined up, and then tighten them down with your Phillips head. Now before you go any further, just make sure that your spring at the bottom is seated correctly at the bottom of it and at the top where it connects to the actuator. All right, so next up is the installation. We're gonna slide these hangers into the isolators above the frame there and then connect our pipes. All right, definitely helps if you lubricate those guys. Once you have them slid in, bring the pipe up and connect it. Slide this guy back, and now we can tighten down this clamp. Grab a 15mm deep socket and tighten that guy down. Next up, we're just gonna grab the 2.5-inch clamps and just slide those guys on. And now we can finish up with our tailpipes there. All right, so I'm gonna start on my driver's side, put this over axle pipe through, connect the hangers, and then connect it to the muffler outlet. Next up, grab your passenger side over axle pipe, slide that guy over top, connect the hanger and the muffler outlet just like we did on the driver's side. Next up, tighten down both of those clamps. All right, now that the exhaust portion's out of the way, we can focus on wiring. Wiring inside of the front driver's seat here, what we're gonna do is basically work on getting the center console off, which isn't that difficult. You're gonna grab a knife and you're gonna just pry up just a touch on the rubber flooring there on this little control panel. From there are 2 small T15 Torx screws you're gonna get off. I'm gonna use my impact gun, but you can also use a ratchet and just get those 2 out. There's one here and one there. All right, there's one. And there's 2. Now, if your model has a plug here, you may have one more screw in this little compartment. Ours does not, so at this point we can grab on both sides and pull straight back on the center console trim. You may want to grab up here as well. Just like that, and that guy pops off. Now we can carefully just prop that down. Now that we have that console down, we have to worry about this 12-volt DC socket. We're gonna disconnect the harness at the back here. Now, it's a pretty awkward angle. If you can get your finger in there to disconnect the harness, that's great. If not, I recommend using that same knife you used earlier. You can kind of pry that knife in there to press on the release clip on the left. And once you have that pressed down, you can pull on the wiring and pull it up to disconnect the socket. Just like that, and bring that out here. All right, so now what we have to do is basically cut away enough of this wire wrap that we have enough wire to tap into. So I'm gonna use my knife again, and with this, you wanna be very careful not to cut the wires themselves. And we're just gonna make small incisions into the wire wrap until it's easy enough to kind of rip open a little bit more. All right, so we're just basically ripping that apart. I know that can be tough to see, just enough to get into some of that wiring. All right, next up we have to do some wire stripping and wire splicing. Now this is our fuse holder. You want to make sure first off that you're popping that guy open and verify that the fuse is in there. If it is not, the fuse is included in the kit, so just pop the fuse in there and shut that guy down. Next, what we're going to do is just strip one end. They're both red wires, so we're just going to pick one, grab our wire strippers, insert that guy in there, and strip that open. You want to get enough just to make your life a little easier, just so you have enough wire to work with. Something like that looks good. Twist the wires together to make sure they're nice and tight. Now you want to grab your control unit, which is this big mess of wires here. On one end, you have a black and red wire. The black and red will have these little hooks on the end. The red one we're actually going to snip off and splice into the fuse holder. So I'm going to put these two together, red to red. So what I'm going to do now is use wire cutters, and I'm going to cut that end off because we don't need that kind of connector. Just like that. Strip this wire just like we did the other one. And now you can take this butt connector and you're going to insert one end from the red wire on the control unit into the butt connector. You want to make sure that guy is going neatly in there. You might have to again twist the wires together. All right, so we're going to insert that guy into one end. And clamp that down. I'm going to use needle nose pliers for this guy. All right, once you clamp it down, you just want to give it a tug to make sure it's nice and secure. So now we can insert the fuse side, the fuse holder side that we stripped, into the other end of the splice connector. Make sure that's inserted there and clamp it down. Now for this, we've got a little bit extra wiring that we don't really need, so I'm going to cut some of that guy off. Now we can insert. And again, clamp it down. Give it a tug, make sure it's secure. You don't want any of that coming out there. And now that side's done. Now we can focus on the other side, which will tap into the 12-volt DC connector socket that we removed. Next, let's strip the other side of the fuse holder. Same red wire as we did before. Again, we don't need too much stripped away, just enough. Now we can splice it into that 12-volt DC blue line. Okay, so next we're looking at this DC socket that we disconnected under our center console. There's a black and a blue wire. The blue wire is what we're focusing on. That's the power. We don't need to focus on the black ground. So take that blue wire. You're going to take the quick splice connector included in the kit, this blue guy here, and you're going to clip it right onto that blue wire. So you're just going to insert the blue wire through that side there. Now, each side has two holes. One side of them, one of the holes is blocked. So we don't want to focus on that one. In our case, the hole that we're going to focus on is on the inside here. So you're going to grab the fuse wire, the red one, the other side of the red one, and you're going to insert it into the other end of that blue connector, just like that. You're going to push it all the way through so that it holds itself in. Now we can grab pliers and clamp down on the metal bar on top, and it's going to connect the two wires and splice them together. Again, I'm going to use needle nose for this. Clamp that guy down just like that. Again, give each side a tug, make sure that they're in securely, and then you can close the top. Now that's spliced in. Now the instructions say to bolt this guy to the frame in order to ground it. Now that is one option. It may be a little bit difficult to find a nice spot for it on the frame from the center console's area. So what I'm actually just going to do is do the same thing we did to our red version of this, is cut it off and splice it into the back of the 12-volt DC onto the ground side of the black wire. So I'm going to cut this guy again, just like the other one, strip it, and repeat. So now we can take that guy and plug it back in. All right, so now we got the fuse holder there. And what I recommend doing is maybe just trying to tuck this fuse holder thing right into that hole where that wiring is. That way it's not interfering with the center console mount. I'm gonna tuck this guy straight through the back here just so it doesn't interfere with the center console again, like I said. All right, and now we can start running this wire. Next, what's going to happen is this wire here with what looks like a coax cable, you're basically going to feed this through the center console, pull it down under the driver's side dashboard where your pedals are, and then run it to the grommet behind the battery that'll lead to under the hood. From there, it'll plug in to the accessory wire that'll then run under the truck to your muffler. Now, there's not a ton of wiring here, so you may need to run the wire through the battery grommet back underneath of the dashboard to plug in instead of vice versa, but you're not going to be able to see this. It's so tucked up under the dash that it's difficult to film. So just run this down, feed it next to your pedals, and then run it under the hood through the grommet. All right, from here, we can now mount our console back up and continue. All right. When we're all done, we'll come back and screw those two back in. So next we're under the hood. We're looking at these wires included in the kit here. One side is the female end of that coax looking cable. The other end is gonna plug into the actuator on our muffler. Now the actuator side, this guy here, we're actually just gonna feed down through the engine bay behind our battery on our driver's side until it's just all the way underneath of the engine bay. That way, it's easy to get toward the muffler. Again, so you're just feeding that guy down, just straight down to the bottom. You can let it fall under the engine bay. Once you have that guy all the way through, and you're just left with this side, you're gonna push through the grommet behind your battery on the firewall. And that's gonna be this grommet here behind the battery. So I'm just gonna take this guy, and the grommet's already not completely seated into that hole, so there's a little bit of a gap there, and I'm just gonna push it through. With that through, again, I told you this is gonna be difficult to see under the dashboard, so you're just gonna have to grab this from under the driver's side dashboard and plug it into the wire that you fed through the center console. Now this is an exaggerated view. I pulled a lot of the excess wire through just to show you guys under the dashboard what it looks like. So you basically plug these guys in just like this. Make sure they're nice and snug, push them all the way together. It's pretty tight. And then you're basically just gonna screw this guy down so that they can't disconnect. Now, you'll have to pull this side of the wire that's coming through the grommet behind the battery. You'll pull all the excess back out of the engine bay and down toward your muffler. And make sure when you're doing that, this tucks up underneath of the pedals. Now again, we can't show you that because it's so tight up in there, but make sure that you're tucking all this wiring back. There are zip ties included in the kit if you feel like you need to zip tie it out of the way. Just make sure it doesn't interfere with any of the pedals. So now the wiring harness fell through the engine bay. What I'm basically gonna do, and what I recommend doing, is running the wiring harness along the brake lines on your driver's side, then going over the cross member right above the muffler to the other side. Now there is a wiring harness extension also included in the kit to make it easier for you to reach that muffler. So I'm just gonna feed this guy over that cross member there. And again, there are zip ties included in the kit to help you with this, but you're basically just gonna secure it to those brake lines and wrap it all the way back to the muffler. Go over the gas tank and over the cross member. All right, so now we can go over that cross member and plug it in. All right, so once you have that connected, you're good to go. Just make sure all the wiring is zip tied back. That's gonna wrap up my review and install for the Flowmaster Flow FX Direct Fit Active Exhaust Muffler, available for the 09 to 18 5.7 liter Ram 1500s with the factory dual exhaust. Now, if you don't have a factory dual exhaust, obviously this one's not gonna be for you because it's built with a dual outlet, but there are other options out there for you in the category. Either way, get yours right here at AmericanTrucks.com.